Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You are here with Austin from Ohio, and today is Sunday, March 28th, 2021. Today I have a couple things for you, just some things that I came across through various different resources and people and things like that, of course, and we're going to do this video here today. I want to apologize because yesterday I said twice in the chemtrail videos that I took pictures of and recorded and whatnot, that I was going to make a video yesterday, and I failed to live up to that, and I am deeply sorry for that. I know a lot of you guys were probably looking forward to it. I like to think so, at least. But I do apologize for not getting to it yesterday. A couple things came up, and I had to deal with that, and then I had to go meet a buddy of mine because he was giving me something that I could use for my survival kit type deal thing. And so I went and got that, and I went to the store yesterday, and I had to go running around, and then some stuff was going on with my family. Not my immediate family, like my wife, no, like my family, like my sister, and my mom was calling me and stuff, and a bunch of stuff going on. You guys don't want to hear about my personal life or anything like that, so I'll just keep it short. Also, I want to say I'm going to start setting a set schedule for days that I will be making a video, instead of just being like, oh, I'll make one today, skip 2 days, and maybe make one here, 3 in one day, this and that. And the schedule is going to be every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. So that's perfect. It's one day in between each of the days. Obviously, some circumstances willing, like things like that. Maybe sometimes I won't be able to do it on a Wednesday, things like that. So we'll do Monday, skip Tuesday, video Wednesday, skip Thursday, video Friday, skip Saturday, video Sunday. Also, if something comes up, I'll have to get on there and blow it wide open, as I like to think that I do on this channel. And I'm sitting here with my coffee, and I got my teriyaki beef jerky snacks that I like to eat. For some reason, I just started eating it. I don't even know why. And I'm getting ready to do this here. So without further ado, let's jump in. This one, okay, a lot can be said about this one here. Whenever I seen this earlier, it just came up on my news feed on my social media, and I was like, if this does not prove without a shadow of a doubt with everything else that we are living in the end times, I don't know what will. Let's see what we got. Satan shoes with drops of blood, announced by company behind Jesus shoes. Okay, so already there's so much wrong with that title. Already. Let's continue. And this was updated today at 11:06 a.m. And here's a picture of the shoes. You got your pentagram, like the pentagram in Satanism and Freemasonry and the Fraternal Order of Police and all the other ones that has to do with. But apparently they're going to be, we could just read it. Limited edition Satan shoes are sparking outrage among some people online. The creative label MSCHF, which sold Jesus shoes in 2019, is behind this new product that was recently announced. The company is partnering with Lil Nas X to offer 666 pairs of the limited edition shoes for one day only. The limited edition shoes are redesigned Nike shoes. Well, of course, they got to get one of these celebrities in on this to help push this stuff, and people that go buy it as like a joke, or if they don't believe that they don't believe in Satan, or they don't believe that Satan exists or whatever, and they think it's just some funny thing to get, or these metal kids that are something they always talk about and how they worship Satan and this and that. Half of them don't even know what they're doing. They don't understand that all of this is very real. Very, very real. Satan is most definitely a real entity. Lucifer is most definitely a real entity, the same entity. A lot of people argue they're different, but they're not. They're the same, except the Luciferians believe that Lucifer is the true light, and he's a light being, and the Satanists believe exactly what, the rest of us believe. And my screen door just flew open. So I'm gonna get out of my car real quick, run up here and close this. You got the winds blowing like crazy here, and it's raining and whatnot, so that happened. But yes, Satan shoes. Isn't that something? And of course, they're Nike shoes. Nike is like one of the main shoe brands. And people that buy this, and they have no idea that what they're actually doing is paying homage to Satan. Whether you want to believe it or not, you are doing that. Moving on. However, some people are still doubting these shoes are real, with some even thinking they'll be an early April Fool's joke. A product website for the shoes has announced that the shoes will go on sale on March 29th on MSCHF's official app. Oh, the shoes are promoted as each including 1 drop of actual human blood. Okay. I don't even know what to say about this. So if you buy these shoes and you wear these shoes, you are wearing something that contains actual human blood, so you are performing a small ritual when you put these shoes on. And the making of these shoes is a ritual as well. This is the kind of stuff that they do. This is exactly what they do to bring more people to Satan. They bring more people to him by doing little stuff like this, even though people might not be aware that's what's going on. It doesn't matter if you're aware of it or not. That is exactly what's going on. And I think it's funny how the date, March 29, 2021, so if you go 3/29, there's your 9/23 or 2/39 symbolism. 3/29, I don't know if a lot of you know about the 9/23 symbolism. Just a lot of predictive programming pointing to 9/23, 2/39. A lot of people think that the date is September 23rd, which it could be, but the date could also be March 29th. The date could also be or whatever other one you can bring up from those numbers. And so there's your 9/23 symbolism. Because they always have to do that and show you things like that, because like their next false flag will probably, and I'm not saying it will, but it will probably occur on 9/23 or 3/29. Not saying it'll be this year, not saying it'll be next year, but we're only basing this off of predictive programming like 9/11. The shoes were announced as a collaboration between MSCHF and Lil Nas X to create a limited edition version of the Nike Air Max 97. According to the product's website, the shoes are individually numbered and only 666 pairs will be sold. Well, there's your 666. I mean, you can't get any more blatant than that. These shoes aren't created by Nike. They're revamped Air Max 97 by MSCHF, made in collaboration with Lil Nas X, page 6 reported. The shoes will cost more than $1,000 a pair. Who in the right mind would ever pay $1,000 for a pair of shoes? I think people are ridiculous if they pay more than $60, $70 for a pair of shoes. The highest that I would go for a pair of shoes, a pair of decent ones, like $80. I've never spent more than that on a pair of shoes. That's only because I work in a warehouse and I don't want my shoes to fall apart after a week. So I spend decent money on shoes. Sue me. And they keep saying the shoes are not designed by Nike. They're repurposed by MSCHF. A Nike spokesperson explained to Snopes that Nike had nothing to do with either the creation or the sale of the shoes. The product website notes that each shoe will contain 66cc ink and 1 drop of human blood. And where are they getting this human blood for these 666 pair of shoes? And you got to think, it's not 1 drop for each pair, it's 1 drop for each shoe. So you will have 2 drops of human blood in your shoes. Next thing you know, they're going to be wanting to make hats or shirts with human blood stained cotton or something. I don't know. This is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. I'm already getting heated. Father, forgive them, for they do not know right from wrong. I've been saying that a lot lately. Father, forgive them, for they don't know right from wrong. And people like to say that's subjective. My version of right is different from your version of right and wrong. And okay, technically, yes, each person's perception of right and wrong is different. But when you're born, we all know actual right from wrong, and it's only through social engineering and propaganda that it gets distorted. You can all feel it within you when you're doing something right and when you're doing something wrong. And we're born with that because the Lord gave us a moral compass naturally. An animation on the product site shows the sole of the shoe filled with a red liquid that sloshes forward and back with each step. That's even worse. Oh, Lord. Lord, what is going on? What is going on in this world? Excuse me. The shoe also features a pentagram. Of course, why not? In bronze with engraving that says, "I saw Satan." MSCHF and Lil Nas X, and the words Luke 10:18 are featured on the outside of the shoe near the toe. This references the verse, "I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven," which is also part of a theme Lil Nas X recent video. Oh, isn't that something? Right on the cusp of when the Antichrist is supposed to reveal himself to rule the world for 42 months. And they reference, "I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven. O Lucifer, how art thou fallen?" No, "O Lucifer, son of the morning, how art thou fallen from heaven?" Also, coincidentally, a lot of people know that Obama, his name in Hebrew, it has something to do with lightning falling, I believe. I forget the exact phrasing or wording, but his name in Hebrew means lightning fall from heaven. Not saying anything about Obama. I mean, he is a contender for the Antichrist along with Emmanuel Macron, Jared Kushner, people like that. I'm just pointing out what I know. And of course, it's the theme of Lil Nas X's recent music video. I haven't seen that because I don't even know who this guy is. But it's a common theme because that's what's going on. Wasn't it back in the 1800s when Albert Pike, when he wrote Morals and Dogma on the ancient and accepted Scottish rite of Freemasonry, where he referenced Lucifer at least 30 times as the true god of Freemasonry? And the shoe is going to go on sale March 29th at 11 a.m. So there's your $329, $239, $923, whatever it wants to be. But here's a picture of the shoe. Actually, this is an actual ad. And apparently the blood is somewhere in there. This is incredibly, incredibly, incredibly disturbing. Very, very, very disturbing. The release of the Satan Shoes, referred to as MHCHF drop number 43, but on the official website linked with the Satan Shoes, drop 43 lists a release date of April 12th rather than March 29th. However, it's followed by a countdown clock to 2 days from now, which is consistent with the March 29th release date. Is all this a little weird? I mean, honestly, is all this kind of weird with the countdown clock, with the April 12th, but the March 29th? Something here with numerology is going on. Something is going on. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it, but something is going on with this numerology. Oh, and here's the Jesus-themed shoes. This is disturbing as well, because you're not supposed to... This is mockery. It's mockery is what it is. This would be considered a graven image. Absolutely, absolutely terrible. Terrible. Rather than having blood and red ink in the soles, Jesus' shoes had holy water. One pair cost $3,000. It's literally just a mockery, and I don't know. We're in the end times. There's no two ways about it. We are in the end times, because stuff like this is coming out, and people think it's like a cute little thing. Like, oh, don't worry about it. It's just something stupid. You got to be out of your mind to believe that this is even a good thing. And some people are outraged, which you should be, because it's a very weird thing. And the reason that these celebrities are pushing this is because, well, you can go and look up all these different celebrities and how they say that they sold their souls to the devil. It's not a metaphor. They literally sold their souls to the devil. And the first modern example of this would be Robert Johnson. He was a blues player back in the day. Go read the story of him, honestly. Robert Johnson, when he had a guitar, and he came here, and he was staying with this group of people or something, and he was really, really, really bad at the guitar. So terrible that they told him to stop many times. Many times. But when they went to bed and woke up the next day, he started playing, and he was a master. They had no idea what happened. There's accounts of people that wrote about it, and they were like, we don't know what happened. He woke up the next day, and he was just a master at the guitar. And he actually went on to become one of the greatest blues and jazz musicians of our time. Even though it was a while ago, but in the 20th century. And there's accounts of Robert Johnson that a man came to him and told him to go to the nearest crossroads at midnight. And then he met a large man there in a suit, and basically told him that he could be the best musician in the world. All he had to do was sell his soul to Satan. And he took it, because many of these people don't know the implications, for they themselves are victims at first. I mean, they are their whole life, actually, but they're victims. That Satan takes advantage of people who don't really understand. Same as Roseanne, when she was oh, when I was a little girl, I wanted to be an actor so bad, and so bad, and then I would dance and I would sing, and my family would laugh, and she was oh, and I was in my room and I conjured up Satan, and then and then you got Bob Dylan saying he sold his soul to Satan, Katy Perry, all these other people that they just openly say that they sold their soul to Satan. And the one woman even said that she they wrote up a contract in blood and she had to sign it and whatnot, and it was just, oh man. But we're not going to spend too much time on this. I just wanted to bring this up because this is absolutely appalling. Appalling. Moving on. I'm going to run through these ones real quick. I'm not actually going to read these. I just wanted to bring them up just to show that they're still pushing the narrative on gun control. They're still going with it. Police identified 2 victims fatally shot, 3 charged in connection with Virginia Beach oceanfront shootings. Of course they're going to keep going with this. Why wouldn't they? They're going to make people beg for disarmament. Now we have another one. Oh, this one was 21 hours ago. Okay, here we are with this one. 7 people shot, 3 left in critical condition in Philadelphia. Police said 1 person of interest was in custody Friday evening. Like I said, we're not going to go through and read this stuff, but we're just going to run through it real quick just to show that they're actually still going with the narrative of the gun control. Because I really want to get back to the UN small arms thing, but I have like a whole bunch of stuff for you guys today, so this stuff's going to keep happening. If you go and you type in recent shootings, so many are going to come up. They've been just hammering this because something's different about this time. I know before they were trying and they could never get it done, which we should all really be thankful for, because it would have been a done deal a long time ago if they accomplished that goal before. But something's different this time. You know, they can ride the wave of the domestic terrorism, white supremacist, what else have they got? Oh, QAnon, believing tinfoil hat conspiracy, crazy nut jobs, this and that. They have so many things now that they can put into it. And the Domestic Terrorist Prevention Act of 2021. You want to read something scary, go read that. And people were like, oh, why is that so bad? It's just for domestic terrorists. And I always tell them, why don't you go read what constitutes a domestic terrorist? You are a domestic terrorist. Any one of us. Actually, all of us are. It's been done. The writing is already on the wall. It's already put there, and now they just have to manifest it. Which they will, in time. And if this keeps going, they're just going to keep doing this. And they're going to say, oh, if you don't give up your guns, this is going to keep happening. And then boom, 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 boom. Exactly as many of us within the truth community saw coming. All right, let's get into the good stuff. I remember I brought this up a while ago, and I was talking about it, and I really wanted to show it, but I couldn't find it before for some reason, but I found it today, and it was actually sent to me by a buddy of mine, the same buddy that I went to meet yesterday for the stuff that he gave me. And this is the inventor of the water-powered car that died in a restaurant yelling, quote, "They poisoned me." Before you begin, it's just talking about take a moment to breathe, place your hand over your chest area, your heart. Just, I don't know what they're even. Anyway, we recently took a scientific delegation to witness Stan's work and came back saying this is one of the most important inventions of the century. Oh yeah, this guy that invented this thing, this was world-changing. It operates on fresh water, salt water. It doesn't matter. Water is a renewable resource. We could all drive cars for free. Just go down and fill up your gallon in the river or something and put it through. Every day the world becomes aware of technologies that have the potential to halt the unnecessary damage we continue to create using fossil fuels. We've been talking about it for years, transitioning our way of life to be more harmonious with the planet and its natural systems. I'm not talking about solar or wind power, although great. I'm talking about clean and green technology that render fossil fuel burning technologies inferior and obsolete. One of these new technologies is a water-fueled car, and it's been unveiled on a number of occasions. It's an automobile that derives its energy directly from water and water alone. It's not hard to see why this is not available to the masses. An engine powered by water would wipe out a large chunk of the fossil fuel industry and change the way these companies do business altogether. Oil and gas corporations combined bring in trillions of dollars every year. Inventions like these are a direct threat to the industry. Oh yes, this would have absolutely destroyed big oil, Rockefeller oil. You can see why this guy was killed. And it talks about a Japanese company unveiled the water-powered car, 2008. It doesn't matter if it's tap, bottled, or lake water. Any type of water can make this car run. Energy generator splits the water molecules to produce hydrogen, and this is used to power the car. They use a membrane electrode assembly to split the hydrogen from the oxygen. Although chemical reaction, the cell needs only water and air, eliminating the need for a hydrogen reformer and high-pressure hydrogen tank. This isn't a conspiracy. The reality of this device has been verified by patent offices all over the world. Okay, yes, this guy, I don't think it's gonna tell us about this guy. Oh yeah, Stanley Allen Meyer, this was the guy that the article was talking about. Here's another one who invented a water-powered car, and it received very little attention when it came to making the news available to the masses. Today it's a fairly well-known story due to the mass awareness that has been created around the story. Stan's invention was picked up very briefly by a local news station in Ohio. You can view this patent here. It also describes the whole process. They're not going to talk about... Here we go. So what happened to Stanley Meyer? He was sued by potential investors. It was determined that his device was nothing revolutionary and simply uses the process of electrolysis. His claims were determined fraudulent, and his technology was under investigation by a number of investors, the U.S. Department of Energy and the U.S. Department of Defense. Of course they're going to come after this guy. He invented something that would topple their industries, which would be a direct threat to the New World Order agenda in general. So the government was trying to sue him. That's what they do. And if they can't sue you, then it was patent pending. All of a sudden, Stan Meyer died suddenly in 1998 after dining at a restaurant. Many close to him, including his twin brother, believe Stan was intentionally poisoned. Stan claimed just before he died in the restaurant parking lot that he was poisoned. According to his brother Stephen, he took a sip of cranberry juice, then he grabbed his neck, bolted out the door, dropped to his knees, and vomited violently. Quote, I ran outside and asked him what's wrong, his brother Stephen Meyer recalled, and said they poisoned me. That was his dying declaration. And then below is a full explanation from Stan about how technology works. Yeah, we already know how the technology works, but I brought this up to show what happened to this guy. And they did this to a number of people. There was another guy too. He invented something. I'm trying to think what that one was. But what they did was they patented it. His patent pending, right before he died. So they patented it. And then they shelved it. And look, there he is right there. He was so happy. Look, he's got an American flag on there. Water power car. This guy should be happy. This is the epitome of the American dream. He invented something, and I'm sure he understood at first that, hey, if I could do this, I could become rich. Because that's what they tell us, right? Oh, if you have a good invention, you'll be rich. If you can contribute something good for our society so we can live better. Well, he tried that. And they murdered him for it. This happened to so many different people, and it's very heartbreaking because this is what happens in a totalitarian state. In a free society with free enterprise, this guy would be a billionaire right now. And he'd be sipping margaritas up in his ivory tower. Rightfully so. He put the work into it. He invented this. What's the problem? Oh, that's right. It's a direct threat to Rockefeller oil and the New World Order agenda. So, they'll just kill you. Kind of like when George Bush said, oh, if you don't like what we're doing, we'll kill you. And then everybody laughed. Like, no, he's telling you the truth. If you don't like what they're doing or saying, they'll kill you. And that's exactly what happened to this poor man right here. God rest his soul. Because these people are just relentless, and this is what they do. Imagine that. Imagine if you didn't have to go to a gas station. Imagine if you could just buy a gallon of water, throw it in your tank, and you're good to go. You're good to drive. And this thing was rumored to have about 1,000 miles a gallon of water, give or take. So you could see easily where they wanted to patent this, shelve it, and they murdered this poor man, along with a bunch of other people that invented similar things throughout the years. So if you're thinking about inventing something, and you go to a patent office and you get the patent pending, and weird things start happening, you better be on the lookout. Don't ever leave drinks sitting anywhere. Don't leave your food sitting anywhere. Always prepare your own meals. Just be very careful. I don't even know what to say about this one. But let's move on. Here's something interesting. First, C, then psychosis. The most terrifying thing I've ever experienced. Oh, come on, get out of here. Of course, they're not going to let me. Like a small number of C survivors, no previous mental illness. Ivan Agerton developed psychotic symptoms weeks after his C infection. Oh, I'm going to get through this. And you people aren't going to be able to. He pulled his wife, Emily, into bedroom closet, telling her not to bring her cell phone. I believe people were following me, he said, his eyes flaring with fear. He described the paranoid delusions haunting him, that people in cars. Oh, you see, this is what they do. Make you pay for information. People in cars driving in suburban neighborhood, Seattle cul-de-sac, were spying on him that a SWAT officer was crouching in a bush in their yard. Isn't this funny? Drafts changed. 49-year-old Mr. Agerton, usually unflappable former Marine, risk-taking documentary photographer, his most recent adventure. Blah, 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 blah. Ain't this something? Well, I wanted to bring this up just in reference to the whole thing, because they can use this to say, like, oh, people with that tested positive for C, that they're going to have psychosis, and now we got to throw you in a mental hospital. And they can also use this in order to help confiscate firearms, because anybody that, quote, tested positive is now psychotic. According to the experts, the shadowy group of experts said. Incredibly multifaceted, just different things like that. That's what I wanted to bring that up for, just to show, like, that they're just making stuff up now. They're literally just making stuff up. And this is ridiculous. A newspaper, New York Times, and you gotta create an account, and then they want you to put your credit card information in and pay like $2.99 a month to read information. I'm not going to be doing all that. Nope. But I did want to move on, because I got a couple more things here that are really good. I saw this morning, actually on Carol's video, and I said, oh man, I got to run this one too, because this is perfect. This is what they've been doing. Mass federalization. How Washington is bailing out failed states, decapitating competitive ones, and ending America as you knew it. March 22nd, 2021. An astonishingly sweeping radical movement to level cities and states is underway. propping up the failures and pounding down those that have been successful. Most everything is being federalized. The role of cities and states, if we have known them as laboratories of democracy, is being eviscerated. It's being financed by both the United States Treasury and the Federal Reserve Bank, which are now joined at the hip in fiscal profligacy. Yes. So they use this crisis, and we all know the crisis I'm referring to, and they intentionally wrecked all these states, only to come back and bail them out. It's problem, reaction, solution. Because they had to federalize everything. What did Hitler do? He federalized everything. Education, healthcare, agriculture, all of it. Much of it is proceeding under the false labels of PE relief and fiscal stimulus. It's happening at such a rapid pace that the paper of record government overreach. The Washington Post fears that the sheer volume of new programs threatens to swamp federal agencies. It's a fundamental and historic remake of America, though its impact hasn't yet come close to sinking in. Some of the numbers that follow seem beyond belief, but they are real. If claiming that pending legislation will destroy America, as you know, it seems like an exaggeration. Read on to see that's what its supporters say, because it's their commentary that's most revealing. This is part of the Great Reset. This is part of Agenda 21. They've had this plan for a long time. And we are now just realizing it. They are now just realizing it. The plan to federalize government is already moving and has 3 parts. Flood every unit of local government with federal cash, irrespective of need, while prohibiting tax cuts, thereby bailing out failing states and cities. Make that flood of federal money made regular and permanent. Annul or override state laws that make certain states competitive, thereby eliminating their competitive advantages, and federalize elections to make it all permanent. Okay. So, hello? Is this not totalitarianism? You know, states were supposed to be, the way that this country was set up by our founders, each state was supposed to be its own country with its own set of laws and its own governments within the whole. I live in Ohio. I live 5 minutes from West Virginia. Ohio is supposed to be its own country. West Virginia is supposed to be its own country within the whole of these United States. As that's what people used to say. In the United States, that's what that means. This country was set up like that for a reason. None of this stuff was ever supposed to happen here. Ever. But part of the Great Reset means that they have to beat everybody down instead of lifting up people that are on the bottom, people that are above in different states and cities that are above, doing better off. They're just going to pound you down. Boom, 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 boom. To where everybody else is at. Because, it's part of that ending poverty thing, right? Oh, we're going to end poverty. It sounds great. But instead of building people up, we're going to tear you down. And there won't be any poverty because you're all going to be poor. And federalize elections. I mean, we've all known that our elections were crap to begin with. But now they're just taking over everything. This is it. This is the culmination of all of it. And once everything is federalized, then they can hand it off to globalize it. Let's go through each. Flood every unit of local government with federal cash irrespective of need while prohibiting tax cuts, thereby bailing out failing states and cities. Start with the recently signed ARP, the American Rescue Plan. Its scope is underreported and the public is unaware. Having been routinely styled as coronavirus relief, or economic stimulus is perhaps the most blatant bait and switch in American history. Okay, that's very true. Wages and salaries for the first 10 months of the P dropped by only 3.4% from the same period in the red-hot economy we had before then. Or, well, that actually is a fallacy of argument right there, because ever since the Federal Reserve Act was passed, the, quote, red-hot economy, yeah, not real. It's all based on debt. Fake. Fiat. $276 billion in lost wages. That's from former U.S. Director of Office of Management and Budget David Stockman. Same for the hit to gross domestic product, which also dropped by the same percentage, a reduction of about $775 billion. But ARP, together with federal money, already delivered about $6 trillion. Even if you want to count everything, the bailout total is 7.7 times the size of the problem, wrote Stockman. Don't think that might ease your state and local tax burden. The downpour of cash on cities and states, much of which don't need it, is all tied to a provision in ARP that bans tax cuts. It's a mandate for statism, big government, whether states with small government philosophies like it or not. Yeah, and states were supposed to be able to tell, okay, the way it works, let's say that everything worked as it does in the Constitution. Let's say the federal government got out of hand like it is now. States were supposed to be able to turn around individually and be like, whoa, we're not going to enforce any of your federal laws here. You have no jurisdiction in our state. It was set up like that on purpose, so that individual states could tell the federal government to go pound salt. Now, let's say that the federal government and your state have become tyrannical, which they are. And let's say the federal government hands something down to the state, and the state is going to hand it down to the counties, and the counties should be able to tell, and they would be able to tell the state that go pound salt. Because counties are, little municipalities, and they have their own little local governments and whatnot. Now let's say the federal government, the state, and your county starts handing down these totalitarian orders. Then your town, your little local town, could then tell the county and the state and the federal government to go pound salt, because we're not going to enforce that in our town. Now let's say that it goes all the way down even to the town. Then you, the individual, can say, I'm a free person, go pound salt. I'm not going to abide or even acknowledge your totalitarian illegal laws. That's how it was supposed to be. Individual countries within a big, broader set of countries within a whole country. Sovereign all the way down to the individual. That is the point of the United States of America. It's freedom. But this right here is communism. Through and through. Straight up communism. No two ways about it. Overbearing state, of course. Okay. Thou shalt be statists and big spenders. That's what the ARP might as well say as a direct federal mandate. Most of ARP commentary about cities and states has wrongly focused on the $350 billion that will go directly to them. That's a small part and entirely misses the bigger picture. Illinois is an example. Its share of $350 billion is $13.2 billion. But what's the true amount that will come to Illinois under ARP? Start with over $25 billion. Illinois Senator Dick Durbin and Tammy Duckworth proudly announced in a press release. Aside from the $13.2 billion for state and local governments, there's $5 billion for Illinois K through 12 schools, $1.3 billion for higher education, $1.3 billion for childcare, $1.5 billion for Chicago area transit agencies, $1.5 billion for Illinois public health, and much more. It goes beyond what even Durbin and Duckworth described. None of that includes the cash handouts coming in the mail soon, which are still more costly. Payments up to $1,400 for adults and any dependent are on the way, subject only to very high income limits. Only households with earnings of more than $80,000 for single filers, $120,000 for head of households, and $160,000 for married filing jointly will not receive any payment. Add it all up and you have more spending on sea relief than America spent to win World War II. And it's not a one-year effort. Okay, so they nationalized the education, which they've been doing that because they're creating subjects. They're not creating free thinkers and independent individuals and teaching freedom. No, they're teaching obedience. What happens when you step out of line in school? Detention, Saturday school, suspension, respect authority. That's the message. Hitler did all this too, guys. This is it right here. They're going to federalize everything. Then they're going to hand it off to the Bilderbergers. They're going to hand it off to the people behind the New World Order. Most of the flood of federal cash supporters expect will continue permanently. Look at what the left's pundits say. Vox laid out the game plan here for making the federal expansion permanent and expanding it to include, for example, making housing an entitlement. For now, these changes to the child tax credit are set to expire after a single year, but Democratic leaders intend to make the program permanent. Apparent strategic logic of making it temporary goes like this. Making the child allowance permanent in the relief bill would have pushed the price tag above $2 trillion, thereby endangering moderate support. Once moderates are faced with a choice between voting for an expansive extension of the policy and allowing every family in America to simultaneously see their disposable income shrink, right before the midterm election, they will rally behind big government. The Democrats' fiscal philosophy is now apparently there is nothing to fear but fear of deficits itself. Yes. This is absolutely terrifying. And they're even saying that it's going to change America as you knew it. They're mainstreaming the idea of the Great Reset. You know, that conspiracy theory that's not real. Black farmers will receive over $4 billion in what looks like a step toward reparations. There's a huge expansion of health insurance subsidies. Many of these changes, like the child tax credit, may well become permanent. This moment is like 1981, dawn of the Reagan Revolution, except in reverse. It's not just that government is heading in a new direction, it's that the whole paradigm role of a government in American life is shifting. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Excuse me. Agenda 21, Agenda 2030, universal basic income, smart cities, transhumanism, depopulation, Georgia Guidestones, ID 2020, all of it. All of it. It's a baby step toward universal basic income or guaranteed income, says Brookings Institute. The significance of this moment in U.S. social policy is hard to overstate. Politico says that it's a radical change in the social fabric of the United States has become a reality, and with it, an opportunity for a Democratic Party no one could have imagined 50 days ago. Oh, we already knew with the two-party system and Hegelian dialectic that they were going to use the Democrat side in order to overhaul big government and federalization because, well, if you go against them, what are you? No matter what you believe, if you go against them, you're a QAnon, Trump-supporting, tinfoil hat-wearing, domestic terrorist, conspiracy theorist. It's perfect. And that's why they had the two-party system. All that's coming to an end, too. Prospect is most direct. Federalize it, Joe Biden, says the headline. Education, too. Federalizing social programs would be a huge step toward expanding the welfare state and ending poverty permanently. If passage of further legislative packages proves even more difficult, as Republican opposition increases and the Senate's Democratic moderates dig in their heels, it would be an easy step to protect the gains of ARP and secure Biden's presidential legacy from the get-go. I just keep going back to Adolf Hitler. He federalized everything. That was the first thing that he did. Simultaneously, he was also confiscating weapons and all of that. We're literally living in 1938 Germany right now. Except it's on a world scale. Because they know how to get it done. They know how to do it now. This should terrify all of you to your core. Yep, K-12 education, higher education, welfare programs, reparations, and more. It's all to be federalized and made permanent, subject to federal rules. Changes include ending work requirements for the welfare that were added by the Clinton administration. This is communism. This is centralization of federal power. This is literally just open declaration of communism in the United States of America. And people are still playing the left-right game. They're still playing the my guy's better than your guy. My people won, so I don't care. I only care about myself, and hey, at least I'm getting a $1,400 stimulus check, right? My country is being dismantled right in front of me. Liquidated would be the better term for that. But hey, it's all right. I'm getting a $1,400 stimulus check. They're going to take care of me with the universal basic income. And this also ties into the World Debt Reset Program. You will own nothing, and you will be happy. This is the Great Reset. This is Agenda 21. This is Agenda 2030. This is all of it. All of it. And now it's being openly praised by the population. People are begging for the federal government to become a godlike entity. Based on only the things Democrats have said they want to make permanent. Total cost of ARP over 10 years reached $4.1 trillion with interest. Yeah, with interest. According to the Committee for Responsible Budget. Responsible budget? When have we ever had a responsible budget? I hear older people talking about, oh, back during the Clinton administration, we had a balanced budget. No. We were still in debt. Debt that far exceeded the amount of money that was there in the first place. And the real wealth has been gone. The gold and silver, gone. It's theirs. Tangible resources, it's theirs. They already own us. Where do you go to get your food? Them, the corporations. Where do you go to get shelter? Them, the housing authority. Where do you go to get power for your house? Them, the infrastructure. What is going on, guys? What is going on? We got to do something. And nobody is protesting this stuff. Because they're afraid that they'll get labeled one of those conspiracy theorists. If I even tried to read this to somebody, they'd be like, oh, you're just a conspiracy theorist. Everything is beautiful here. Everything is great. Nothing can ever happen here. That's the mindset that damned us in the first place. Nothing could ever happen here. Says who? The Romans thought nothing could happen there. So did the Greeks, the Trojans, the Jews, the Germans, the Soviets. the Americans now. It's no different. Human nature has not changed. And then there's like this here. Okay, an all override state laws that make certain states competitive, thereby eliminating their competitive advantages. Federalize elections to make it all permanent. Yes, just dismantle everything that this country was ever based on. Freedom is gone. This is it. That final nail in the coffin that we've been talking about, it's already in. They're lowering us into the ground right now. Actually, no, they just started throwing the dirt on top. Mixed in with a little concrete, to make it all permanent. Here's where the ban on tax cuts comes in. Keep taxing and spending as you have been. That's the universal mandate under ARP. And also spend the cash the federal government is dropping like manna from heaven. Today's well-run states will thereby lose much of their competitive advantage. Additional pending federal legislation specifically aims to deprive thriving states of what has given them comparatively advantage. First, there's the Wall Street Journal, called the most radical pro-union labor bill since 1935, which would erase right-to-work laws in 27 states. Federal gun control laws already passed the House. Finally, and most importantly, there's perhaps the most pernicious bill proposed in the modern history, H.R. 1, For the People Act. Yeah, that's what they already do. They name it something stupid. It would strip state governments and local election boards of power to run our elections, federalizing the election process. There it is. It's over. It's literally over after that. There will be no state elections. There will be no midterm elections. There will be no elections in general. They don't even have to put the facade up anymore. Because they're going to, after they federalize it all and get it all into one nice little box, one nice little package, they're going to rubber stamp that bitch and they're going to globalize it. Boom. Here's your world government. Are you happy? We're all being enslaved. I mean, does nobody understand this? We've been talking about this for years, haven't we? People in this community, we've been trying to tell people about this for years. But now when they come out with it on the mainstream media, they're like, whoa, I guess it's a good thing because the federal government said. And they're the moral superiority, and we don't know anything. We're just, lowly little people. We don't know anything. At least I'm getting my $1,400 stimulus check. And on the other side of that, you got people still pissed off that Trump's not in there. Dude, this would still happen. Trump is the reason that they were able to set this all up. Because he got it ready for him. He declared the state of emergency on Friday the 13th, last March, which, gave FEMA power over the entire country for the first time in history. He's the one that put all of these laws and executive orders into effect, which allowed them to then build on that toward the Great Reset. And also, his presidency kept the patriotic, Americans who were going to stand up for the Constitution on the couch. Because remember, Trump drained the swamp, guys. But it would mandate same-day and automatic voter registration, encourage vote trafficking of absentee ballots. It would be the end of voter ID laws and restrict efforts to verify voter registration lists. It would create a public funding program for candidates running for Congress. It would put new regulations on political speech and activity by activists, candidates, civic groups, corporations, and nonprofit organizations. Membership in organizations the left doesn't like would be disclosed, leading to harassment and intimidation. Okay, yes, why do you think that they made it mainstream for people to believe that the election was stolen from Trump? It was so they could do this stuff with no opposition. Because now if you go against them, and you got to remember the whole time, The same people own both sides. The same people are always working toward the same goal. One world government. You go against this stuff, guess what? All those things that they can now say about you, it's done. Let's see. First Amendment, gone. Second Amendment, definitely gone. Third Amendment, quartering of troops, we'll get there. Fourth Amendment, been gone. Fifth Amendment, well, you won't be able to plead the fifth anymore because, they're not even going to have to bring up any evidence against you. And you probably will never even see a court. You're going to go to a black site. You're going to go to a FEMA camp. Sixth Amendment, gone. 7, 8, 9, 10, gone. Constitution in general, been destroyed. All of it. And it's not just here. This is the whole world. The average American is no doubt unaware of how extreme all of this is and how quickly it's moving. I'd say yesterday when I was taking those pictures of the trails and all of that, which were insane, I got some really good photos of that. There was a baseball game going on because there's a baseball field across from my house. And I'm looking over there, and I'm like looking up, and I'm complaining, I'm like, does anyone see this? Whatever. I look over at the baseball game, and not one person looked in the sky. Not one person. Polls say support for ARP is very high, probably because people are aware of little more than the checks now on their way to them. Yeah. As long as you get that money, huh? They've been bribed with their own money, never considering that they and their children will have to repay most of it. Yep. But it won't be in US dollars. It'll be in your belongings. And they got that global cryptocurrency system set up. Come on, man. Pouring gasoline on the fire is the Federal Reserve Bank, U.S. Treasury partner in prolificacy. We're creating out of thin air some, but not all of the funds needed to federalize so much, and the long-term consequences are unknown. They've embarked on the biggest monetary experiment in American history. They've been doing that. They create money out of thin air for a reason, and they don't pay it back. You know why? Because they know it's never going to get paid back. They don't have to pay it back. They own the money. People at the top, of course, it's their system. They own it. You know who will have to pay it back? Us. And our belongings. And our freedom. Wait till they activate all those emergency executive orders. Well, I mean, a lot of them are already activated, but you wait. You wait till you go outside one day and you see your neighbor getting drug out of the house. Just like Kitty Worthman, that lady that survived the Holocaust. She said that she had no idea that anything was even different in her town until she started seeing people being drug out of their house and shot in the back of the head. Henry Kaufman is a venerable voice from the past on physical and monetary issues. He concludes a soon-to-be-released book with this, as reported by Barron's. With the federal government and the Fed firmly joined at the hip, the transformation of capitalism into statism is gaining momentum, perhaps irreversibly. Not only this is a great departure from the vision of America's founders, I suspect also not the kind of economic system most Americans living today want to leave for future generations. First of all, not perhaps irreversibly, it is irreversible already. And I can say that with confidence because the only way to reverse it is if Americans shut up, put all of their disagreements to the side, and focus on the matter at hand. And Americans are not going to come together. You can't even get two people to talk in a grocery store because, oh, you're not 6 feet away. I don't want to talk to you because your belief's different from mine. You dress differently from me. People sometimes don't even talk because one person might be wearing a Green Bay Packers shirt and one person's going to wear a Chicago Bears shirt. And those are rival football teams. And that person hates that person now because, oh, they like a different football team. That's how shallow Americans are. They don't care about anything but themselves. People don't even care about their children. You think these people care about their children enough to fight and perhaps die for their freedom? People always say that too, and they're like, oh, I care about my children. No, you don't. How can that switch to statism be happening with so little public attention? Well, I can already say TV, music, work, hush money. That's it. Americans don't care about anything. We're done for. We've already been cooked, sat on the plate, eaten, and now we're about to be crapped in the toilet. Conservatives and Republicans in Congress bear part of the blame. They haven't been getting dire warnings out as aggressively as they should. Well, no, Sherlock. Because they're all on the same team. Moving on. They also bear partial blame for earlier relief measures, part of which are overbroad, poorly targeted, and riddled with fraud, which formed part of the Federalization. Politico is right when it said Republicans never bothered to train the full fury of their fire at a series of provisions that took the nation several steps down the road to social democracy. Of course. They're all on the same team. Why would they say anything? If they do, they'll end up like John F. Kennedy. That's another reason I knew Trump was on their side, because what happened to Kennedy? If Trump was on our side, the same thing would have happened to him. Those trains are always so annoying. If they have any excuse, maybe it's because they have been caught flat-footed. Who could have thought that anything so extreme could be attempted by leftists who hold so thin a majority in Congress? We're stunned, too, at wire points. We've long heard secondhand that many Illinois politicians who ignore the state's pension crisis say in private they expected the problem to be eventually federalized. That was the term we heard they used. We knew that the attempt was coming, but we never suspected the plan so drastic, federalized so much would ever be considered. Well, that's because you always called us conspiracy theorists whenever we would say things like this. Well, that can't happen here, you conspiracy theorists. The states would put a stop to that. Not really, because the federal government will just be like, okay, well, we're not giving you any money. Come on. Make no mistake about the historical gravity of what is taking place. States as laboratories of democracy are being shut down or replaced with a national juggernaut, more overbearing than most Americans have ever imagined. It was Justice Louis D. Brandeis in 1932 who famously described the virtue of our system. Quote, "It is one of the happy incidents of the federal system that a single courageous state may, if its citizens choose, serve as a laboratory and try novel social and economic experiments without risks to the rest of the country," he wrote. State experimentation in things social and economic is a grave responsibility. Denial of the right to experiment may be fraught with serious consequences to the nation. That goes back to what I was saying. States are their own individual countries. It was never supposed to be like this. Destruction of that right is precisely what is happening. Oh, yes. Wake up, America, at all costs. This movement I'm getting all mixed up today. This is what happens when I get pissed off. Wake up, America, at all costs. This movement must be stopped, and insofar it has already succeeded, it must be reversed. We need to put our big boy pants on, and big girl pants, and we need to get out there, and we need to start shutting these people down. No federalization. None of that. We don't want any of this. I want to be free. That's all I want. I want to be free. I want to live in peace. I don't want to bother anybody. I just want to be left alone to my own devices. I want to live a long, happy life with my wife. And that's it. But guess what? I can't do that because I have to get out there and I have to speak out against this stuff. Oh, man, I get so mad. I get so mad about this stuff. I am so passionate about this stuff because this is our lives. This is literally our life. The United States is done. And with us, the rest of the world is done too. It's over. It's a done deal. It is over. Unless we decide to band together, which isn't going to happen. One more thing I got for you guys, then I have to run to the store. Actually, two more things I have. I wanted to show you this because this is disgusting. PF begins testing its V in young children. I'm not going to read all this, but this is absolutely disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Experiments on children. Other drug makers have begun similar trials of COVID. I said it. Who cares? If they work in children younger than 12, as expected, it will be easier for the U.S. to reach herd immunity. You already know why I'm mad about this. You already know the implications. I don't even have to go any further. But I wanted to bring this to your attention because this is happening. Okay, now I got one more thing. This is a letter that was written August 15th, 1871 by none other than 33rd degree Mason Albert Pike, who we all know was the sovereign grand commander of Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, and he had some clout and he had some pull because it took an act of Congress to move his body from a graveyard to the Freemasonic Temple. I forget what it's called, the Temple of the Light or something like that. I forget. But in 1871, he wrote to his counterpart, Giuseppe Mazzini, in Europe, a letter outlining 3 world wars to achieve global government. And this was also put into a book by, what was his name? He was a Canadian naval pilot. He exposed this, but then his plane went down and he died. But not before he could put it out in his book. Oh, man, I can't remember his name now. William Guy Carr. That's his name. William Guy Carr. I don't know what book it is, but I will bring it up and I will show you guys. But this letter was written August 15th, 1871. But it got lost and it didn't turn up until 1920. And it was actually on display in the London National History Museum until 2012 when they took it down. And then they said that they never had it. So take that for what it's worth. But I just wanted to show you guys this. I've went over this before. This is very important because these people, as we know, plan everything ahead of time. They're the ones that make up all the terms. They're the ones that put all the plans. They're the ones that carry them out. They play both sides to achieve their ultimate goal. This is what the letter said. The First World War must be brought about in order to permit the Illuminati to overthrow the power of the czars in Russia and of making that country a fortress of atheistic communism. Okay, that happened. The Bolshevik Revolution took out the czars and they established the Soviet Union, which was most definitely a fortress of atheistic communism. The divergences caused by the agentur of the Illuminati between the British and Germanic empires will be used to foment this war. At the end of the war, communism will be built and used in order to destroy the other governments and in order to weaken their religions. That's exactly what happened. Soviet Union went on a rampage, destroyed all regional governments, and definitely weakened their religions. The Second World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences between the fascists and the political Zionists. The war must be brought about so that Nazism is destroyed and political Zionism be strong enough to institute a sovereign state of Israel and Palestine. Okay, that happened. Of course. And Israel was created right after World War II. It was like May 1948. During the Second World War, international communism must become strong enough in order to balance Christendom, which would then be restrained and held in check until the time when we would need it for the final social cataclysm. And as you know, after World War II, we've been at a standstill, restrained, held in check. Of course, this is all very accurate. And World War II was brought about, and Nazism was destroyed. They created the sovereign state of Israel, and international communism is still strong enough to balance Christendom, which was held and restrained until they need it for the final social cataclysm, which is where we are now. Take a look at this one. Now remember, 1871. The Third World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences caused by the agentur of the Illuminati between political Zionists and leaders of the Islamic world. The war must be conducted in such a way that Islam and political Zionism mutually destroy each other. Meanwhile, the other nations, once more divided on this issue, will be constrained to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual, and economical exhaustion. We shall unleash the nihilists and the atheists, and we shall provoke a formidable social cataclysm which in all of its horror will show clearly to the nations the effect of absolute atheism, origin of savagery, and of the most bloody turmoil. Then everywhere the citizens obliged to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries will exterminate those destroyers of civilization, and the multitude, disillusioned, that's the word he uses, with Christianity, whose deistic spirits will from that moment be without compass or direction, anxious for an ideal but without knowing where to render its adoration, will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer, brought finally out in the public view. This manifestation will result from the general reactionary movement, which will follow the destruction of Christianity and atheism, both conquered and exterminated at the same time. What do you think of that? And we already know they want to destroy all the old religions to make way for the new one world religion, which would be Luciferianism, which is tied in with the New Age religion. So in this Third World War, we got political Zionism and the Nation of Islam destroying each other. And at the end, we got the destruction of Christianity and atheism. So in one sweeping move, they destroyed Judaism, Islam, Christianity, atheism, wiped completely from the face of the earth. Mr. Albert Pike had a lot of power. A whole lot of power. And this is exactly what has happened and is happening. But guys, I gotta go because I got some stuff to do. But we'll pick it up tomorrow because it's Monday and my new schedule, as I said, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. So look forward to videos on those days. As always, we will leave with a prayer, the Lord's Prayer. So if you will bow your head and pray with me. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not unto temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen.